So I can see many people are joining, but I just want to say hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on raising awareness and advocating for the rare disease community among healthcare professionals. I'm Stefan. I'm Director of Communications at Europe's Rare Diseases Europe, and I'm joined today by my colleagues Liz and Shreya, who work on the Rare Disease Day Global campaign, and we're thrilled to have you all join this important discussion. Our goal today is to explore effective strategies for engaging healthcare professionals to improve diagnosis, care, and support for people with rare diseases. Each of our today's speakers bring unique insights and expertise representing different regions and perspectives within the rare disease field. And I'm honored to introduce them. Meet Stefan Živković, a project coordinator at the National Organization for Rare Diseases of Serbia and director of the same organization, plus a foundation, NORPS, plus a foundation providing essential aid to Serbia's rare disease community. With extensive experience in civil society across Serbia and Europe, Stefan's commitment to rare diseases is personal, inspired by his younger sister's battle with cystic fibrosis, giving him valuable insight into the challenges people with rare diseases and their families face. Stefan is joined today by a professor of pediatrics and clinical genetics and head of Department of Clinical Genetics of the University of Children's Hospital in Serbia, Goran Čuturillo. Our next speaker is Natalia Samonenko, head of the Center for Orphan Diseases and Gene Therapy at Ukraine's National Children's Hospital, Ohmatdyt. A pediatrician and a geneticist, Natalia has focused on metabolic diseases since joining Ohmatdyt in 2003, taking on her current role in 2022. She also advises Ukraine's Ministry of Health, represents Ukraine in the European Reference Networks, and leads the Rare Disease Hub Ukraine. Our next speaker is Yukiko Nishimura, who is the president and founder of a rare disease organization in Japan, ASRID, focused on supporting rare disease advocacy in Japan. With over 10 years of experience in the field, she has led efforts like the first I-Court conference in Asia and serves in key roles with regional and international rare disease organizations. She has also worked with the Japan Patients Association and taught at the University of Tokyo. Yukiko holds degrees from Meiji University and the University of Tokyo. Our last but not least, meet Nadiah, Hanim, Abdul, Latif, who is the president of the Malaysian Rare Disease Society, but also regional representatives for Southeastern Asia, Qatar, Oman, United Arab Emirates, Jordan, Algeria, Iraq, and South Korea for Phelan-McDermid Syndrome Foundation. With over 20 years in social impact and disability advocacy, including 15 focused on rare diseases, Nadiah works across sectors, from policymakers to corporates and international organizations, advocating for equity and rights for those living with rare diseases and their families. So without further ado, Stefan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Stan. Can we start the slides, please? Yeah, well, we're starting, Stan already mentioned Stefan from National Organization for Rare Diseases of Serbia, and together with Professor Čuturillo, I will present our work as a national organization, how we cooperate with healthcare professionals and how we include them in our activities, but also cooperate on joint activities. To start, NORPS is umbrella patient organization founded in 2010 and has grown to include 37 individual patient organizations, plus we have individual members in our section. Our mission is to ensure that the individuals living with rare diseases and their families receive the support they need and have their rights recognized. And we work in the multiple areas, starting with awareness raising activities, training and education for healthcare professionals, advocating for stronger policies and support for rare disease patients. And additionally, we have a direct support through our helpline, which provide assistance to those affected by rare diseases. When we speak about rare diseases, it's important maybe to remind ourselves what are the rare diseases, and the rare diseases are defined as conditions that are affecting fewer than 1 in 2,000 people. And while we speak about Serbia, we say if we go with the thought that 5% of certain population have rare disease, we speak about 350 individuals that are living with rare diseases in Serbia. And for the rare diseases, you can skip the slides. For the rare diseases, probably are aware of those statistics that according to the latest research that we use, that the 72% of the rare diseases are of genetic origin, that 70% of the rare diseases start in childhood, and that for 95% of rare diseases there is no available treatment. And according to the latest Rare Barometer research, it says that the average time for patient to receive the proper diagnosis is 5 years. Throughout the years, NORBS has achieved significant milestones. Maybe what's important to mention that because of the patient organizations that were fighting for their loved ones, that we managed to influence the start of the first budget for rare diseases. We had multiple conferences about rare diseases. There were some regional campaigns together with our colleagues from ex-Yugoslavian countries that are aiming to unite people across borders in support of rare diseases. And recently, what our advocacy changes led to the disability assessment, where the rare diseases are recognized. And what we try to achieve is to establish partnerships and facilitate access to rare disease therapies. As our key elements, you can skip the slide because I don't think it's that much important about the strategic priorities. But when we speak about the rare disease day campaigns, usually we have multiple activities, and often we organize, not often, but yearly we organize a roundtable discussion policy event where we include the decision makers and also healthcare professionals, and we discuss about the important things for rare disease community. We have specialized educational webinars for students of pharmacy and students from medical faculty, and trying to engage as much as it is possible the patients to support the Rare Disease Day awareness campaigns. And when it comes to the engagement with healthcare professionals, there are multiple ways that we are doing that. First and foremost, on those panel discussions and roundtable discussions, we always invite healthcare professionals that we cooperate with, because it is important also to hear their insights regarding the situation with rare diseases in Serbia, and that is important for us when we are striving to make some policy changes. We organize continuous medical education courses together with healthcare professionals and for healthcare professionals from smaller cities, in order to raise the awareness about rare diseases among them, and also for them to understand how to manage rare diseases, who they need to approach if they find out that there are patients that are suspected for rare diseases, who is that person on the tertiary level who they need to send the patient to. We also participate in a few expert commissions where, besides healthcare professionals, we are representing the patient organizations, patient perspective, patient community. You can start with the next slide. The first, let's say, CM continuous medical education course that we started was a joint activity with Institute for Molecular Genetics and Genetic Engineering. It started in 2017, and till now we had 5 CME courses that we held together. All of them we are trying to organize in different cities around Serbia, and especially for our course, it's usually we have 8 lectures about rare diseases, and we are covering the topics about the symptoms, the diagnosis, and the treatment for rare diseases. And you can say that the interest from the healthcare professionals is great, because they like to attend, especially going to some cities that maybe don't have that much opportunity to hear about rare diseases. And what is maybe even more important is that the course, the CME course that we started this year, and that was on the initiative from Professor Čuturillo and Professor Ivana Novaković, our long-time colleagues, and I can say friends that are supporting rare disease communities for many years. They had an idea of organizing a huge continuous medical education, and that it will be specifically organized during the rare disease day. And this year it was the first time. I hope that we will continue, where there were, I think, 14 speakers, experts, 99 attendees, which is a really important number to see the huge interest among healthcare professionals to listen about rare diseases from our distinguished experts in rare diseases. The educational goals for this course were to introduce the possibilities of molecular and genetic diagnostic for rare diseases, also to introduce the modern therapeutic modalities for rare diseases, to hear what are the symptomatology of rare diseases, and how to treat patients with rare diseases. And I'm sure that Professor Čuturillo will maybe say something more about this at the end of the presentation. The other way how we include healthcare professionals is on those roundtable discussions that we organize. Every year around Rare Disease Day, we try to organize a roundtable discussion. The roundtable discussion has a specific topic. Every year it's something that is important for us to discuss on that year with decision makers and also with healthcare professionals, in order to try to influence the policy changes or to assess what is the situation at that moment about a certain topic. Here you can see what are the topics. So we were discussing about the budget for rare diseases. We have a specific budget that's treating rare diseases, the importance of the newborn screening, access to medicine. So we try to cover all those important topics when we organize those roundtable discussions. At the end, what are some of the outcomes and what is the impact of our cooperation with healthcare professionals? Through those continuous medical education courses, we improve healthcare professionals' ability to recognize rare disease symptoms that leads to faster and more accurate diagnosis. When we are cooperating together in those expert commissions, by doing that, we provide our input to key policy changes, and we also try to cooperate with healthcare professionals in order to build a network of specialists that are knowledgeable in rare diseases, because we know that it's important to have a cooperation with someone, and we know that we have a lack of specialists knowledgeable about rare diseases. So it is important to have a closer cooperation with those healthcare professionals. And we also like to include them in our policy activities, because it is, let's say, from one side, we have a patient perspective, and we know from the patient perspective side what is important for patients and what we want to achieve. But it is important to listen to perspective from healthcare professionals. And only when we joined our perspectives that are maybe different, and we know what is good and what is bad from both of the views, then we can achieve what is most important for the patients, and to have to join forces and strive for the policy changes to better diagnosis for rare diseases, to better access to therapies and all. And now I would like to invite Professor Čuturillo to give his own perspective of cooperation with patient organizations and including of healthcare professionals in rare disease patient organization work.
Thank you very much. Well, I don't have a presentation. Is it okay just to discuss and talk a little bit about this topic?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So first of all, thank you for invitation to participate and to talk and to get to know all people and professionals here. Here in Serbia, I'm a clinical geneticist, and of course, I'm fully involved in my work with rare disorders. And I will talk from clinical geneticist point of view. But as Stefan already told, we really, here in Serbia, we work all together. And I think in past 10 years, we did a really good job. And if we compare in medical point of view situation with rare disorders before 2014, with situation today, the difference is huge. And this is only 10-year period of time. So before 2014, we were able to establish diagnosis and to employ specific treatment in only small proportion of patients having rare disorders. As in many other countries, we were able to do chromosomal analysis, and to sequence only few genes, one gene by one, which is very, very time consuming and very expensive and inefficient. And since 2014, thanks to our health insurance, national health insurance company and their decisions, since 2014, we are able to use NGS technology and exome and genome sequencing. And we have started among first countries in Europe with these techniques and diagnostics. And thanks to that, I would say that we can establish diagnosis today and modify treatment in vast majority of patients having genetic disorders. And as you know, 85% of rare disorders are actually genetic disorders. So I hope for the next 10 years that we are going to be equally successful and efficient as we were in the last 10 years. And altogether, this is very exciting time for being a clinical geneticist, because all these new possibilities for diagnosis and treatment. So this success is, of course, the result of joint efforts of different people and organizations here in our country. Not only healthcare professionals, but also healthcare authorities, which is also very important, media, industry, and of course, patient organizations. And when it comes to patient organizations, we have National Organization for Rare Disorders, and Stefan told some basic information about our national organization. From our point of view, from clinical point of view, clinicians' point of view, I'm very, very satisfied with collaboration with our national organization. And this collaboration is becoming more and more fruitful and easy. And today we have very good, open and constructive collaboration. And people from our national organization are involved in different boards and commissions related to access to therapy, policy making, and various other very important things. Also, we participate together and organize together a lot of medical meetings. And each time when it is needed to raise awareness of some disorder or group of disorders, or promote some therapies and new approaches, we can count on our national organization to participate and to promote, to organize different meetings and to get different professionals together to discuss and to learn from each other. And also over the time, communication with our national organization has become very, very easy and friendly. And I deeply believe that we are all truly committed to further advances and improvement of both patients' rights, accessibility to treatment, to diagnostics, awareness, and everything. So I can just hope that all these good things will continue over the time in the next years, and basically that's all I can say. But if you have any question, I would be glad to discuss further and to answer.
Well, thank you both. Thank you, Stefan, and thank you, Professor Čuturillo. We'll leave our questions for the Q&A session at the end, but I just want to thank you, Stefan. It's really great to hear how you managed to engage healthcare professionals through CME educational courses and events, and your advocacy, be it through organizing policy events or participating in different commissions, as well as, highlighting your collaboration with healthcare institutions. And of course, especially thank you, Professor Čuturillo, for highlighting the role of the patient community and the importance of patient perspectives in these exchanges between healthcare professionals and the patient community. I know how important it is to hear for the patient community present here. So we will now move from one health professional to another. We'll move to Natalia Samonenko from Ukraine, working at the Ohmatdyt Rare Disease Center. So without further ado, Natalia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this invitation, and thank you for introduction me. And my name is Natalia, and I am geneticist, and I am a pediatrician. I work with rare disease more than 10 years. And today I want to present our experience of building harmonious work between patient organization and between doctors community in our country. And yes, I'm from Kiev. I'm from the center of the country, which has been at war for 3 years. But first of all, I want to remind you about the Ukraine. There are hardly any people who have not heard about our country or do not know about us, but did everyone realize how big it is and what its place in total, now we have more than 600,000 kilometers. We have 24 regions. By 2022, more than 41 million people lived in Ukraine. Of course, everything changed since February 2022. Slides. The evolution of the development of relationship between patients and the medical community in Ukraine hardly difference from other countries. They are always separate groups. We have doctors, we have patients, we have and their parents, we have community, and we have states. And only the combination of these groups can provide effective works. That's how it all happened with us. Let me present my vision of the evolution of our relationship. The next slide, please. Yes, this is Ukraine, and this is our state in the world, and this is our big country. But in the red, you can see how many land now stay with now occupied with Russian militaries. But the next slide, please. If you want to ask me the total number of patients with rare disease in Ukraine, then I will not be able to, because we don't have registers now. Why? This was the decisions of our ministry, and but likewise, we don't know the true number of patients organization in Ukraine now. So we had 3 ways of relationship between patients and doctors. There was an option when doctors saw the need for a patient community and initiated the creation of such organization. The second option, when the patients organized themselves and closely cooperated with their doctors. And the third option, when organized patient communities were looking for doctors and the team. For example, we had, in my experience, I had some different communication with patient organization. And we have, for example, some communication when some groups of patients came to us and asked to help them to organize medical program in our country, and of course we help them. But there is a certain difference in our path. Historically, at a certain moment, after several public protests that affected the entire country, it was patient organizations that played a great role in the development of medical care. They were representatives of the public, and they were hard. A certain imbalance where the patients were head and the doctor. head, didn't hear at all. At a certain point, doctors any role in the state's development strategy, and they receded into the background. But the patients had an advantage. They met with the ministry, with the president, with deputies, and this led to an imbalance when it was the patients who began to say how to treat, where, and with what. If there were communities that who understand their limits in knowledge and advantages, but we had another communities who didn't understand this. For example, they didn't have authorities and boundaries. It took some time to balance these situations. This is a positive points in this. We had the positive points in this too. This became an impetus for the further development of care for orphan patients in general. And again, they were heard. They had a voice, a strong voice. Their director could not be called to shut up, and only thanks to their persistence and inflexibility forward. But everything changed, and it is clear that certain evolution changes how taking place in joint work. Any reasonable conclusion that it's only possible to work together, and that's the only way we can move forward. Currently, we have really harmonious relationship with patient or communities. We work together on documents. We work together with guidelines, so representatives can take part in this work. We joined two common groups on the provision of medicine. We can work together with our Ministry of Health, with our government. Of course, now it's very good communication. Give an example for one joint project. For example, we had a very big project with patient organization Duchenne Ukraine. The 100 years of survival. It was initiation of where patient organization was initiated this project with Dr. Michael to send for patients and doctors with a selection of non-invasive for NIVL. But in August 2023, this moved to our hospital, and this year we transformed this project for some another. Now is carrying out, of course, carrying out a course of examination and correction of treatment, including NIVL, for a group of patients every 6 months. We have every 6 months, we have another groups of patients with Duchenne disease, and they have new examination and correction of their treatment. But do we have any problems now? Yes, of course. And how I see that? This unity among patient organizations, so we can have sometimes 2, 3, or 4 separate communities for one diseases. The next, sometimes patients do not find a common language between their doctors and each other, or vice versa. This is a problem in diplomacy and human relations in general, of course. Moreover, disunity among doctors doesn't not help. We have only, for example, we have only 4 different pediatric communities in Ukraine, and of course, it's don't help for harmonized communication with patients too. And well, where do negative relations with state institutions, for example, access to treatments is a patient. or parents, for doctors, the success of their work, and for the ministry, how to make it cheaper. And it's now it's a very big problem for us, how we can speak with our and of course I can't remind you about the conditions in which we live. When rockets fly, bombs are dropped, people die, as it was yesterday in Kryvyi Rih or today in Kiev. And this is my hospital. This is my hospital after the shelling of July, of 8th of July, and this is one of many. Would you? But it is such moments that you understand who your friends. And this is what unites the most. Our patients were among the hospital after these missile attacks. And some were injured during the shelling, some came to help, someone just called, because it's like a family. You can quarrel, but you remain relatives and closer people. In conclusion, we have to say the main things, that only joint work and joint action will be successful. And everything else is so but the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia, for sharing Ukraine's experience and the impressive steps forward in rare disease care at Ohmatdyt. But also thanks again for sharing the resilience of the patient community in Ukraine and among healthcare professionals. We know that for both it is very challenging, but it is inspiring to see the evolution of patient support despite this challenging circumstances, and also how you, as a healthcare professional yourself, are involved in projects advancing care for rare disease patients. So we will now move on to Nadiah from Malaysia. Nadiah, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thanks. Let's do a quick sound check if you can hear me, because I'm actually on 2 devices. So if you can hear me, give a thumbs up so I know that my audio is all right. Okay, great. I can see everyone giving me a thumbs up. Thank you so much. First and foremost, thank you so much, Stefan and the team from Ohmatdyt and everyone else for allowing us to share the session today with everyone. And I think it's an important piece to really discuss where we're at, how do we want to progress, and what are some of the things that we want to see. But instead of going down the route of very sort of management strategy-like presentation, I wanted to start with a little bit of a humble storytelling, if I may, to pique your brains a little bit, whether or not it's early time of day for you or whether it's at night. I think, it's a little storytelling would never hurt. So first and foremost, I wanted to ask all of you here, when you think of the sky at night, right? When you think of the night sky, what comes to mind? Now, the reality of it is, in the life that we have for rare diseases, very often it's an uncharted territory. It's almost like, welcome to Wonderland. Here's a map, and there's nothing on the map. It's absolutely empty. And it's up to us to figure out how we're going to be drawing this picture, this adventure that we are going to be having together. So I want to invite all of you to go onto the chat and type for me, when you think of the night sky, what's 1 or 2 or 3 words that comes to mind when you see the sky at night? So let's type and see what we get. So light pollution, I love that. I'm going to talk about that. Light pollution, infinity, the stars, air pollution, immense, darkness. Okay, so do you notice? Van Gogh, I like that. Van Gogh, I got to learn Starry, Starry Night. Am I going to burst into song now? Infinity with a bit of fear, feeling small. I love this. I'm going to sit down and listen to everybody's talk. Now, the reality of it is the journey that we have for rare disease is very much like that. I'm going to use your words that you've just given me to tell you a little bit of a story. And I hope you give me a little bit of an indulgence. Now, when you look at the night sky, you see if there isn't light pollution, and that's a very important point. Thank you for that. And very often, the light pollution is akin to the noise and the things that we see daily that often distracts us from the things that we have to solve. Sometimes there might be pushing or pulling factors within our governments or within the ecosystems that we're in that makes our issues seem small. And the view and the expanse that we're in seems ever eternal, so much to discover. The expanse not only makes us feel small, but also makes us feel fearful. Sometimes they'll tell us, shoot for the moon, and if you don't land at the moon, at least you'll land among the stars. How many of you have heard that? Actually, that's factually inaccurate. It's impossible to go to the moon, and if you miss the moon, you land in the stars, because the stars is infinitely further than the moon. So there's no way you're going to go to the moon and then miss the moon and go to the stars, right? The reality of it is not going to happen. So Trudy, you said the moon. And the reality of it is we're often told, go for that moonshot. Think of that big thing. Shoot for the moon. If you miss the moon, you'll get to the stars. It's never going to happen for rare diseases because there's no such thing as going to the moon and then landing in the stars. You can't get closer and then you get further, right? But the reality of it is, with all that is happening, when we think about the uncharted territories that we have, and we think about all the things that are scary and hopeful and interesting about the rare disease space, to an uninformed mind or to people before they get to know the rare disease space, it just looks like pretty flickering lights in the sky. All of us equally shining as bright as we can, advocates who are advocating for different diseases, 7,000 of us, at least 7,000 different stars talking about 7,000 different issues, but all flickering at different speed, different light years away from each other, distances that might not always connect. But when we come together, we're no longer just random balls of gas that are filling up the sky. We actually create a map. And that's what we're trying to get at. The whole entire conversation today, and thank you, Stan, for inviting us, is creating that new narrative, creating and turning individual actors, individual stars that shine in that night sky, and turning it into a brilliant, amazing constellation that becomes a map, not for us, but a legacy that will continue to live on many years after we're gone. Because the reality of it is stars are like that. We often say that the stars that burns the brightest burns the fastest. Caregiver, advocacy, leadership fatigue in the rare disease space, be it whether you are a patient advocate or a person living with rare disease or a caregiver or even a healthcare practitioner, burnout is real. And just like stars, you will poof one day, but your light continues to shine on. So you might have that supernova moment that you've burned out, but may your light continue to light that sky many, many, many years after you're gone. Now, when we come together and talking about creating that constellation, instead of light pollution and those balls of gas, when I say balls of gas, the analogy that I'm trying to get at is when we stay as individual actors championing our cause, and very often, whether we realize it or not, at competitive amplitudes of sound, what people who are uninformed and looking at the map, all there is noise, hot air. People really angry with the system, really angry and wanting the change that they want, but not singing in the same harmony that creates a system for others. It needs to be able to create that sound. So very quickly, we know that There's so many things to fix. And when we're talking about healthcare practitioners, I want to expand that role a little bit more. Not just talking about healthcare practitioners who are in the system or professionals in the system, but also professionals that are going into the system and how we can engage them in various different ways. When we talk about healthcare professionals, we often talk about doctors or we talk about specialists. There's so many of them out there that are very, very crucial to the rare disease story. And they can be genetic counselors, they can be allied health practitioners like your rehab, your specialists and your therapists and your physio. Every single one of them have a place in your constellation map. And that's the reason why when we're talking about trying to solve all these issues, in Malaysia at the very least, there's so many things that need to be involved. Very briefly, you know that the Malaysian Rare Disorders Society is the umbrella organization for rare diseases in the country. We do not say that we are the pinnacle or the apex organization. We say that we stand shoulder to shoulder with the rest of our friends in the rare disease space in Malaysia and the region. So together, we have over 19 other registered societies that we consider our siblings, not our children, but our siblings, together in the same space. And they will be organizations that champion specific causes, anything from neurofibromatosis, DMD, SCA, and the whole long list. Yes, we know that 300 million live with undiagnosed. So two different support groups that can be neuromuscular, healthcare practitioners, youth, all of these different groups that are made up of different stakeholders combined that have shared cause. Now, when we talk about building the ecosystem, and this is something that we harp a lot about when we talk about the ecosystem in Malaysia, is that we believe that every single party within the ecosystem creates that constellative map. For MRDS, we are blessed that we had a very strong founder, and I'll talk about her a little bit more. But with the work that she's done together with Anna Chu, our founding secretary, the president, and our medical advisor, Prof. Tong, along with the genetic counselor, when they first started more than close to 20 years now, they set up the base. MRDS currently is in most something good, but the understanding then becomes an issue. Thankfully, countries now, how do we dialogue, moving, the next person's gone, how do we keep busy? Also come and go. Maybe the one doctor is going to be there for creating.
Sorry, Nadiah, I think we're having some audio issues. We've completely lost you for maybe the past minute or so. If you don't mind, just rewind.
Oh, can you hear me now? Still not hearing me?
No, now it's better now. But
okay, let me try. Okay. Let me see. Sorry, guys. I can hear that you're saying that you can't hear me. Sound having issue right now. Okay. Can you hear me now? Let me try and bring the process. Can you hear me now? Check 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better.
Okay. So in summary, what I was trying to say is one of the things that we need to look at is how to develop an ecosystem that does not only support the patient advocacy groups, but also the healthcare professionals that are in the system and coming into the system. In Malaysia, the MRDS is part of the National Steering Committee for Rare Diseases. We work together with the different ministries, with the different agencies, along with corporates and other patient groups. And when I say patient groups, not just the rare disease patient groups, we work very closely with the Persons with Disability Action Group. We work together with college. Is many opportunities and be learning the healthcare professionals, not only professionals that specialize in diseases, because the lifelong needs of people living with rare diseases are often very varied and include things that have got nothing to do with only rare disease. Can everyone hear me now?
It's a little bit on and off.
Is it still jumping? Right, okay. Let me try and see. I'm Can you hear me now? Is it better?
We can.
Okay, let's try and, you know, when they say, when you don't want things to go wrong, that's exactly when it does. So we'll try and see how things go. Okay. So how do we engage HCPs in Malaysia? Everything that we do for MRDS goes back to what we call our ACE strategy. The first is to advocate, the second is to collaborate, and the third is to enable. Now, when we talk about engaging HCPs, it's not just about advocacy to help HCPs that have never heard of rare diseases before about what is rare disease, but also in helping them collaborate within the same healthcare institution might not know of each other. Yet, different doctors for your rare disease needs. The reality of it is most of us meet more than 3. It could be someone who is in charge of probably in health, right? There are many different parts of the
Sorry, Nadia, we were losing you again.
Okay. I'm not sure how this is on. Let me try my laptop. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, with any luck, it will hopefully not jump. I'll just drop that one. Can you hear me clearly here?
Yeah, it's much better actually.
Okay, now I can't hear you, but I'm guessing you can hear me. Okay, great. So in everything that we do, we look at using the ACE strategy to be the anchor, not only in working with the healthcare practitioners or the professionals, but also all across the different stakeholder chain, be it policymakers or other patient groups, or even body corporates, right? I won't talk about advocacy much because essentially we all know that. It talks about how do we ensure that those who have never heard of rare diseases before understand us a little bit more, or at least have their radars up and aligned whenever they see a patient or a group that might need an extra care or extra check. So this is not just related to newborn screening. This goes all across the patient journey, all the way up to palliative care, because as we know, there are a lot of rare diseases that actually only manifest in adulthood or in adolescence. And so we need doctors who are aware or at least curious enough to want to have their patients go and have checkups well beyond the time when they're past their childhood. In terms of collaboration, I'll give you a little bit of an example in a bit on how we work together with HCPs, not just for those who are existing within the system, but also those that are coming into the world of medicine, whether or not as an allied health professional or as a professional within the system that's already there. And the reality of it is when we talk about enablement, we're not only talking about continuous education for doctors and healthcare practitioners, we're also talking about how do we build that ecosystem that supports the healthcare practitioner and professionals so that they can then grow in the space that they want to. So I'm just going to show you very briefly how this looks like. Oh, I've gone backwards. Okay. In Malaysia, the landscape for rare disease has got multiple points, and this is common for many countries. Some people go through the government hospitals. Some people go through the teaching hospitals or the university hospitals, as we call it. Many go through private healthcare facilities, and they're also what we call the army hospitals, that we don't have that many people logging in for rare diseases through the army hospitals, but they are there in the system. Now, while we do that, different people would have received their diagnosis in many different ways. Obviously, private hospitals might have the budgetary ability to be able to do more for their patients, but the majority of our patients in Malaysia actually go through either the teaching hospitals or the Ministry of Health hospitals. And these hospitals are set up across the country And many of them, we've got at least 5 who are considered as centers of excellence for rare diseases. They can be genetic centers, they can be those focusing specifically for young onset type of diseases. And then there are also university hospitals that look at adult type rare diseases that are across the country. When we talk about engaging healthcare professionals within the system, I don't want to talk about it in too much detail, but Stefan had mentioned it earlier about how we work together with doctors in terms of continuing education for doctors who are already in this space and working together to do things like awareness raising or campaigns among doctors. We also work together with the pharmacy or the Pharmacist Association in Malaysia and the Genetic Counseling Society of Malaysia to look at allied healthcare professionals that also need a little bit of an understanding of what is rare disease and how we can work together to build that ecosystem. Third is when we talk about nurturing future change makers and the importance of creating a healthy pipeline. Here, I'm happy to share that MRDS has got several tie-ins with multiple universities in the country, be it in advancing research on health economics. So there will be doctors who are also researchers. So we do things on health economics, the burden of care. We look at helping doctors share information and creating one work that we're doing with HUKM looks at how do doctors in the allied health line come together to look at information that can be shared to ensure that patients get the integrated care that they need in a faster way. We're also working with 2 universities. One is a program that's currently ongoing that's engaging future doctors and nurses and healthcare practitioners that are interested to go into the medical field to know what rare disease is all about, or at least have some touch points with patients who are able to then explain to them what are rare diseases, what does it look like, what does it mean to live with rare diseases? Because one of the key things that we want to push for is also more HCPs with the right amount of empathy to be able to engage with patients when they do meet someone with potentially a rare disease. The next is a group that we're working on where the students of the universities are not students who are going to be specializing in the medical or health field. So we're working together with students from international relations, international business, engineering, social media, because we know that creating that narrative, creating that ecosystem that supports HCPs and rare disease patient groups require all of these other stakeholder groups that are looking at it from the policy perspective, from the social media advocacy perspective, from creating that kind of noise that we need to be able to push for policymakers to drive change. So one project that we're currently having with Taylor's University is where a group of students from one cohort from 10 different countries are doing a project on policy comparison analysis of different rare diseases of different countries of their choice. And then they come up with a campaign that looks at tackling stigma for people living with rare disease. It can either be from a health perspective, or it can be from a health economics perspective, or it can be purely from a campaign and narrative perspective. Now, this actually tries to engage adolescents and people who are of a much younger crowd, knowing that future HCPs are from a generation that's very different from ours today. So the language, the way we engage, the module and the modus operandi that we engage, and the channels that we use will also be different. Finally, of course, the more traditional way of doing things is cross-sector collaboration to amplify efforts. So the Malaysian Rare Disorder Society is also now part of the All Parliamentary Action Party group on child rights, where we collaborate together with all other child rights groups across the country to raise issues on child rights at the parliamentary level. And here we are under the right to health and the right to inclusivity in society. So we champion that. We also work together with other organizations like the Genetic Counseling Society of Malaysia, the Pharmacist Society of Malaysia, doctor coalitions, mental health coalitions, and all these are sometimes health professional groups. And in other ways, it's allied health professional groups that we work together. Now, I want to give you a very quick example of how this looks like. So today I'm talking to you. Tomorrow, there's actually an event that's happening at HUKM. On the left-hand side is a campaign. And Stan, I'm happy to share that your push for World Rare Disease Day 2025, we're not even done with 2024 yet, and we're going into 2025. So this started with a discussion that we had with Professor Nurina, who is a neurologist, who is also championing spinocerebellar ataxia in HUKM, one of the teaching hospitals in Malaysia. And she told me, Nadiah, look, I can't do World Rare Disease Day in February. We're really swamped, but I want to do something in November. And I told her, like, Prof, please, by all means, go ahead, because everyone here knows every day is Rare Disease Day. You can have Rare Disease Day any day you want, right? The idea is to create an awareness. So really happy to share that what started last year as a 1-year-long campaign has not ended and has now blended very nicely to 2025. We will be having the Deputy Minister of Health tomorrow with us, and we will be talking about engaging health professionals, exactly this topic today, and how do we look at enabling the patient groups and developing a better ecosystem in Malaysia. We will also be having an FB Live session tomorrow for as many people as possible who would like to join. So if you're interested to join the session, let me know and I'll give you the link. On the right-hand session, and this I think is worth mentioning, very often that doctor, that professional, that specialist that we look to is that one person in our life that we look to for all kind of advice. But at the same time, for them, we might be patient number 3,764. There's so many of us and there's so little of them. In Malaysia, there's 14 geneticists for a population of 34.2 million, which to me never makes sense. So it's important for us to not only engage, but also help to validate and recognize the efforts of our HCPs. Because at the end of the day, burnout for them is real and they are human too. So back to the story of the founder, the lady who's holding the little trophy there is the founder of MRDS, of which stands why I am able to speak to you today. Her name is Dato' Hatijah. And through her nomination, our medical advisor, Professor Tong Mo Keong, who has dedicated his life to serving the rare disease community, won the Star Golden Hearts Award just yesterday, Stan. So this is a story that happened yesterday and a story that will happen tomorrow. So what I'm trying to tell you is the story of creating an ecosystem and helping your HCPs thrive is not only about the doctors helping you, it's about how you can help your doctors be the best versions of people who are going to help you in future. So Prof. Tong has dedicated his life to rare diseases, and we're immensely not only admiring his work, but also grateful for the work that he's done, not only in Malaysia, but also in other countries. And for those of you coming for Ohmatdyt in Philippines, you can watch him too. So I just want to end very briefly with this. Alone, we might be just dots and balls of gas floating in the sky, but together we make a constellation, a group of events. Every single picture that you see here is a mixture, an event that was a grouping of healthcare professionals, allied health professionals. You see the Minister of Health right at the bottom picture there. You see Prof. Tong in so many of the pictures here. The big picture with all the blue doctors with the hands, those are your health professionals. The ones in the middle are actually your patient advocates. You see, well, it's going to be hard for me to point out to you, but there are parliamentarians in these photos, there are youths in these photos, there are parents in these photos, there are doctors and researchers in these photos, there's farmers in these photos. At the end of the day, all sending the same message. Alone, we are just dots in the sky. Together, we create a map that if not for us, for others, we will light the way long after we're gone. Because at the end of the day, the mission is the same, so that no one else is left behind. So with that, I want to end, and apologies for the sound troubles. Thank you, Stan.
Thank you, Nadiah, for walking us. I think I see an echo. I hear an echo. Thank you for walking us through this space exploration. As one can say, I think as Helen put in the chat, she absolutely loved this analogy, and so did all of us. And thanks again for shedding light on how we as a large community of many various organizations can find this path by working together. And so as we explore the different experiences from different countries and regions of the world, covering from Serbia to Ukraine over to Malaysia, we come to our last destination, Japan, and I invite you, Yukiko, to take the floor.
Okay, thank you. So can you see my slide?
Yes, we can.
Right. Thank you. So after great professional stories from Serbia and Ukraine, and just after Nadiah's wonderful, the universal story, I'll introduce a very local story from Far East country. So my name is Yukiko Nishimura, the Chief Secretariat of RDD Japan and also the President of NPO Athlete. So sometimes because the video is not working properly on Zoom, so I'll give my presentation without using slideshow. So please understand that. You know, now it's 11 p.m. in Japan, so I'm an early bird person, so I'm slightly sleepy. So, but I'm so happy to introduce our case. And here is my introduction. So I have the academic background and also I have a working experience of JPA, Japan Patient Association, like as on Eurodis and NORD. And ASRID is an intermediately organization in the field of rare and intractable diseases. So our mission is to connect all multi-stakeholders within this field and to generate evidence. The RDD Japan Secretariat is currently situated within ASRID. So RDD Japan has started since 2010. From the outset, the Secretariat has overseen all official RDD events and communicate through a single website. So local RDD organizers apply for official event approval each year and maintain close communication with the Secretariat. And event information is obtained from local organizers and all content is created by the Secretariat. The Secretariat is negotiate with sponsor companies to cover overall costs. And while each local event is managed individually, grants are provided to local as needed. Not all of them, just part of them. And the Secretariat also handles negotiations with supporting organizations, including the Ministry of Health and others. And every year, a unique theme is created in Japanese to ensure it's easily understood by all. So it means we can provide RDD global logos and a global campaign and global theme. And on the other hand, we also provided, our original theme and key visuals. So here is the timeline of event numbers. In 2018, RDD events led by healthcare professionals began. Due to the impact of COVID-19 during RDD month in 2020 in Japan, so roughly the half of all events were canceled. However, the number of events has gradually increased since then. Here are the official events held for RDD 2024. Through these RDD events, we connect grassroots activities across Japan. So together with the local organizers and participants and 53 sponsors and 20 supporting organizations, RDD Japan forms the RDD community. And 13 of these events are hosted by healthcare professionals. While many other RDD events involve healthcare professionals as the guest speakers or participants, here we focus solely on those hosted by healthcare professionals. So let me introduce a few of the events. In RDD Kagawa Prefecture, the panels provided by the Secretariat were displayed in the hospital, and many patients and families and others, can read and watch and see. And RDD Nishiharima, this is the local name, features a Parasports experience event. And so patients and families and, the healthcare professionals joined the event. and RDD International Iseikai Hospital and RDD Medinet located inside Medical University held lectures and dialogue sessions among all stakeholders. So, why do healthcare professionals organize RDD events? So, I'd like to share the voices of actual organizers. This video includes part created of RDD 2023. So total length is roughly 7 minutes. And this time I'm introducing this video in our native language, Japanese. So please patience for a moment. Inside this video, healthcare professionals use the word of intractable disease or incurable disease. But you can understand the same meaning of rare disease. And also, in Japan, Parkinson's disease is one of intractable disease. So I'd like to note that the English translation is the machine generated. So sometimes there may be some minor inaccuracies. So please let you check. Can you see?
Yes.
That's great.
私は大学病院の脳神経内科の病棟で長く看護師として勤務をしてきたんですけれども、その中で本当に多くの神経難病の患者さんだったりご家族と出会ってきました。で、大学病院っていうところなので、他の病院では診断がつかなくって大学病院で精密検査をされて確定診断と告知っていうところの場面に多く関わってきました。で、その中で遺伝性の神経難病の方もいらっしゃって、やっぱり遺伝に関する相談を受ける機会も多い中で、遺伝のことをもっと勉強したいなっていう思いがあって、看護師を辞めて大学院に入学をしたんですね。で、ちょうど看護師人生を振り返っていた時に、もっとこんなことが看護師時代したかったなとか、これからしていきたいなっていうことを少し思うことがあって、それでRDD 石川を立ち上げてみようかなっていうことになりました。やっぱりお悩みの中でよく聞いたのが、この聞き慣れない病気、なんか難しい名前の病気を周りの人に言ってもあんまり理解してもらえなかったりとか、職場の人に体調のことを少し相談しても、まずその病気が何なのかっていうことで理解が得られないっていうことをよくお話しされいた方がいて、そういったところから一つは多くのこの難治性疾患であったりとか希少な疾患があるっていうことで、いろんな病気があるんだなっていうことを広く市民の方に知っていただきたいなっていうところが一つありました。パネル展をさせていただいて、難治性の希少な疾患があるよっていうことを市民の皆さんだったり、石川県の皆さんに知っていただきたいなっていうところで、石川県庁の最上階にスペースがあるんですけれども、そこでパネル展を開催させていただきました。で、コロナのこともあってたくさんの人には来場いただけないかなって思っていたんですけれども、綺麗にカウントはしてないんですけれども、たくさんのアンケートをいただきまして、でまたやってほしいですとか、こんな疾患があるんですね、知らなかったですっていう声を聞いて、本当にやってよかったなっていう気持ちが、あったなっていうところが一つあります。すべての病気のことを説明するっていうことは難しいんですけれども、どうかその相談の入り口になったりとかパネル展ができたらいいのかなっていうふうに思ったことが一つと、難病看護師っていう資格があるんですけれども、それを取った時に実は石川県の中に複数に10人ほど難病看護師がいるんですね。でせっかくいるんだけれども、そこが それぞれ患者さんと熱意を持って関わっているんですけれども、お互いの心をケアし合ったりとか、自分の成功体験を看護師の中で共有したりっていうことが本当はもっとできたら、それぞれの看護力がもっと伸びるんじゃないかなっていうところはあって、もっとつながっていきたいなっていうところがあったので、まず看護師の輪を作ろうっていうところから始めれたことが良かったかなと思っています。一番心に残ったのが10代の子がアンケートを書いてくれてたんですけれども、全部見ましたっていうことで書いてくれていて、学校でもやってほしいですっていうふうにアンケートを書いてくれてたんですね。でそれを見た時にすごくジーンと温かい気持ちになって、こうやって10代の子が知りたいって思ってくれてるんだなっていうことと、がん教育とかも今そうなんですけど、中学校とかって入っていくっていうところがあるので、難病のこととかも特別なことじゃなくって、誰でも身近にあり得るんだよっていうことで、ぜひお子さんから知って、家庭に持って帰ってもらって、こんなのを習ったよとか、そうやって広がっていくといいなっていうふうに思ったりしました。
私自身は5年前にこちらの施設に参りまして、パーキンソン病の他の難病の方とも、できるだけ、お付き合いしたい、そういう方のサポートをしたいと思いまして、難病センターというものを施設内に作りました。パーキンソン病の診療をかなり積極的にやってたわけですけれども、他の難病の方とのお付き合いはなかなかなかったものです。そういうところで RDD を行うことで、職員の人たちにもっと難病のことを知っていただきたい。そしてこちらに治療に来ていただいている患者さんたちにも、自分の病気だけじゃなくて、もっと他の難病のことも知っていただいて、みんなで一緒に難病の生活といいますか、療養を良くしていただいたらいいのかなと思いまして、この活動を取り入れることといたしました。この西播磨総合リハビリテーションというのは大変立地が悪いといいますか、山の中にある施設でして、なかなか多くの患者さんと交流する機会というのはありませんので、身近なところで始めていく。もう一つ職員の啓発ということもありましたので、最初はRDD の事務局の方から、パネルの提供をいただいて、病院の中に、施設の中に展示をして、みんなに見ていただくということがあります。それで勉強していく。それからそれなりに学会発表などもしておりますので、その発表内容を病院の中に展示することで、患者さんにもそういうものを見ていただく、施設内の活動をより広く知っていただくということをしております。インターネットを使って、関連施設とつなぎまして、主にパーキンソン病の方が多いですけども、パーキンソン病の方が集まっている施設とか、あるいは県外のいくつかの難病相談支援センターの方とつないで、それぞれの活動をお話ししていただくということをしております。
Thank you for your patience. And how about that? So we hope this helps illustrate the meaningful role that RDD events can play for healthcare professionals as well. And then I'd like to introduce the reason from the perspective of us, the Secretariat. Every year, the Secretariat creates approximately 25 panels data sets. These cover a wide range of topics, including an overview of RDD Global and RDD Japan Local, an update on or current status of rare disease research and orphan drug development, and activity of patient groups, and current legal framework, and summaries of research studies, a list of designated rare diseases, and so on. The panels also include specific examples of collaboration, such as how patients have contributed to legal reforms, or how stakeholders have collaborated to provide feedbacks on clinical trial databases. So it's a rule that all panels must be displayed at official events, and ensuring quality control for RDD events. So all panels can be viewed on the RDD Japan website. I'm sorry, all of them are Japanese. So those panels provide not only patients, but also healthcare professionals with an overview and the latest information. And because the panels are prepared by the Secretariat, this approach doesn't place an additional burden on healthcare professionals. So some organizers start with the panel displays at first, and then gradually expand their activities to include lectures and other events. So the panel display offer a very simple entry point for RDD Japan events, yet they are extremely beneficial. And in some cases, healthcare professionals see the value in collaboration within the same region. For example, from the request of the physician, a dialogue session with high school students was organized as part of RDD activities. And sometimes nurses use RDD events as an opportunity to meet patients and families outside the hospital, engaging in open discussions. So using the shared language of RDD, so they create opportunities to meet and speak with those they want to connect with, enhancing communication within in rare disease field. Although our RDD history is only 15 years, the concept of RDD is gradually spreading as a common phrase, and the voices of patients and their families are slowly being heard. So we'll continue our efforts under the following slogan: to patients, for patients, beside patients. And lastly, here is our theme for RDD Japan 2025. Hinodemae, co-creation of RDD community. Hinodemae is Japanese, and direct meaning is before the sun rises. So it suggests the quiet preparation and gathering of strength before a new beginning. So we hope to carry out the RDD global campaign together with all multi-stakeholders around the world. That's our story. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Yukiko. This was very interesting, and it's quite a different perspective. So I think that a lot of us appreciated how you engage with healthcare professionals, but also how it is important to use hospitals and healthcare sites to raise awareness of rare diseases. So I think many of us really appreciate. We have a few minutes for Q&A. So if any of our participants has any questions, I know that there were a few questions already answered, but you can leave your question in the Q&A session just underneath our speakers' video frames, or you can put that in the chat. And maybe while everyone is typing their question, I'll just ask each of you just maybe one question, since we have regarding teaching as a healthcare professional. Donovan, you can also, of course, post your question here. we will be more than happy to answer. And so while people ask their questions, maybe each of you can provide a brief piece of advice, perhaps, as we have a group of patient advocates and healthcare professionals, a piece of advice to patient organizations on how to better engage with the healthcare community, but also maybe how the advice to healthcare professionals on why they should engage with patient organizations. So maybe Nadiah, would you like to go first?
Sure, but you need to reframe that question because I heard you in bits.
Yes. So what would be your advice to patient organizations and healthcare professionals on the other side to better engage one with another?
Okay. I think in many countries, there is this reverence of HCPs. We listen to our HCPs, and sometimes we don't, as I suppose, patients or as people living with rare diseases, sometimes we don't question enough when they share that particular information. Or in fact, in my own personal experience, because the condition that at that point we were championing was so rare, the healthcare practitioner was actually reading out of Wikipedia something that he had printed because he had never heard of this condition before. We have to remember that HCPs are also human, that it's impossible for them to know 7,000 diseases in depth. So it is for the healthcare practitioner or the healthcare professional, it's okay to say, ma'am, I don't know this disease. I've never heard of it, and I'm learning about it as we go along, because that humility goes a really long way, because the reality of it is what really connects a patient group, a patient or an individual with rare disease and the health practitioner is not because he or she is the most experienced, best in the particular field. It's a lot to do with empathy. It's a lot to do with the HCP's ability to listen humbly, authentically, and honestly and say, look, ma'am, I have never heard of this condition before. I know that it is a rare disease, but I'm here with you and let's be on this journey together. And there's no harm in saying that, because the reality of it is they don't know as much as you don't know, right? The second thing I want to share for patient groups or individuals living with rare disease, and I don't like to call them patients, I prefer to call them individuals living with rare disease. Never, ever, ever just call yourself, I'm just a patient. We need to eradicate that word just, completely take it out of the vocabulary. The very fact that we live with a rare condition or know of a person living with a rare condition or we're the caregiver of a rare condition, we are that expert in that particular condition because we've had years of experience living every day with that condition, more than the healthcare professional that is currently helping you and treating you with the issue. So while he or she is an expert in your condition through research and through perhaps studying about it in university, you have that 20, 30, 40 years of lived experience that is just as important, because they don't live with the condition, you do. And it's really important for you to not discount the fact that you are expert in your own experience. So the most important thing to realize is we come from different angles trying to solve the same issue. We all have our weaknesses, but we all have our strengths. So the point to make here is both HCPs and patients have to work on their egos, have to improve on their listening skills, and come together so that the benefit goes not only to the person living with the rare condition, but the greater society as a whole. Because I completely champion the fact that if you raise the bar and you help people with living with complex medical needs, not just rare diseases, you help a greater number of people in the population. Then lowering the bar and making it so hard for people living with rare disease to get the equitable help that they need, more people will be at stake, not just rare diseases. Yeah, so that's my point.
Thank you, Nadiah. Thank you. It's very insightful. Stefan, would you like to go next?
Yes, the question was how to engage
What
the
would
advice.
advice to both patient organizations and healthcare professionals to improve the collaboration?
I mean, Nadiah said it so perfectly, like they need to put down their egos. So, because when cooperating together, it will lead to comprehensive, effective care for patients with rare diseases. But in general, yes, For the patient organizations, you need to include healthcare professionals in your activities. And for healthcare professionals, they need to understand that patients have their own voice and that their voice matters and that they need to listen to the patients, so that the relationship between healthcare professional and patient is on the same level, so that neither opinion is more important than the other, so that they need to work together in order to have better outcomes for the patients.
Thank you, Stefan. Yukiko, do you have anything to add?
Thank you so much. So in Japan, the main focus of our RDD campaign is social awareness, but it's also helping to deepen dialogue between those involved. And in addition, so rather than holding policy events in conjunction with Rare Disease Day, and we are also trying to communicate more clear to a wider audience by introducing the policy events, so that are held throughout the year using panels. So making people who don't know about it aware of it and deepening the relationships of those who already know each other. So I think that such kind of campaign like the bring together those involved and create excellent partnerships. And I also think that they can incorporate individual initiative well. That's my comment.
Thank you, Yukiko. And last but not least, let's hear from a healthcare professional herself. Natalia, what would be your piece of advice?
I agree with Nadiah, with Stefan and Yukiko, because it's, I told about this, and only very good communication and only good common job between patient organization and between healthy professionals, medical professionals could be good for very good results. And only together, sometimes I think we work like a big family. Sometimes not, but I hope in future.
Thank you, Natalia. I think we just missed just a few bits of your last sentence, but I think the message is clear for everybody, and everyone agrees that more empathy, compassion, and understanding, and more synergies are important to improve this collaboration and relationship between both healthcare professionals and the patient community. We had quite also a very personal message from Donovan. But if you don't mind, I suggest perhaps reaching out to us at raredisesday@erodies.org. I'll put the email in the chat. It might be easier for us to help you to answer the question via email. Apart, if anyone wants to respond to it. I know, Nadiah, you've already started responding. I don't know if you would like to add anything to it.
No, I think other than the fact that I'm hopeful, actually. So one of the things that when people ask me, what do you think is a success for people living with rare diseases in Malaysia, for example? And I say, other than no one left behind, I would like to imagine a time when we have policymakers who are also people living with rare diseases, doctors who are also people living with rare diseases, change makers in industry and pharma who are people living with rare diseases, or at least family members, because that level of understanding and empathy is second to none. And I'm really happy to share that in Malaysia right now, we already have, HCPs that are individuals, young individuals living with rare diseases, or people who are siblings and family members, because they've had that lived experience, who now want to become healthcare professionals because they have that level of empathy and that understanding. So to me, it's a matter of time where we see more people like Donovan who understand and appreciate the struggle, but also be able to reach out and help more. So when somebody says, no one understands me, at least somebody will be able to listen to say, hey, I might not understand exactly what you're going through, but I can appreciate the struggles that you have because I share a similar journey, something like that. So thank you, Donovan, for sharing.
And I know that we are running behind the schedule, and I appreciate both the public and the panelists to say just a few more minutes. We have one more unanswered question. So if any volunteers among our panelists would like to answer about high-level strategies to bring the community together, to unify the different rare diseases and come together as one voice. I think that it's something that you've already covered, but maybe as you've covered, we can also end this webinar with whatever you might add to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think coming into World Rare Disease Day 2025, I love well, I'm going to do a shameless plug for Eurodis. If you haven't already, check out the hashtag for 2025, and it says more than you can imagine. And I love the fact that we're taking a positive spin on this because the challenges are more than you can imagine. The complexities are more than you can imagine, but the opportunities and where we can bring this conversation to is certainly more than anyone can imagine. So thank you, Eurodis, for that.
Thank you, Nadiah, and thank you all of you, our esteemed speakers, Natalia, Yukiko, Stefan, and Nadiah, for joining us today and for sharing your expertise and insights. And thanks for everyone who have joined us today. We had people from all across the world, so we appreciate you waking up or just preparing for bed and taking the time to connect. So thanks again. I just want to say that this recording will be available shortly for anyone who missed or had to leave earlier or would like to rewatch it again. So once again, thanks to all of our speakers, and we will be back soon. And stay tuned for more updates from Rare Disease Day. Thank you and goodbye.